The year was 1592. On the Korean peninsula, the Joseon dynasty had known peace for centuries, but across the sea, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a powerful Japanese warlord, had unified Japan and now dreamed of conquering China, using Korea as his road. The Korean court dismissed rumors of invasion, unable to imagine the storm about to break. In the fourth lunar month, over 150,000 Japanese soldiers armed with matchlock rifles landed at Busan. The defenders fought bravely, but their bows and arrows were no match for Japanese guns. The city fell within hours. The gates to the peninsula were smashed open. The road to the capital lay clear. News of Busan's fall sent shockwaves across Korea. Japanese divisions marched north, unstoppable and ruthless. Korean armies, poorly equipped and unprepared, were swept aside. The Japanese advance was breathtaking, leaving devastation in its wake. This was not just a war for territory. It was a war for survival, for Korea's very identity. The invaders burned palaces, looted artifacts, and shattered centuries of tradition. The dream of a peaceful kingdom was turning into a nightmare. As the Japanese legions neared the capital, a desperate question hung in the air. Who could stop them? The answer would not come from the land, where armies were collapsing. It would come from the sea. The fate of Korea now depended on a new kind of hero. The tides of war were about to shift. Within 20 days, the Japanese army stood at the gates of Hanyang. King Seonjo abandoned his capital, fleeing north as his authority crumbled. The government was in chaos, cities fell like dominoes. Pyongyang was captured. The Japanese advance seemed unstoppable. The Korean military, untested and poorly led, was outmatched by battle-hardened samurai. Generals made critical errors, underestimating the enemy and failing to adapt. The nation's defenses collapsed through 1,000 cuts. The social order unraveled. Civilians turned on officials. Slaves burned records of servitude. The Japanese targeted not just military sites but Korea's cultural heart, burning libraries and temples. By summer's end, Korea was on its knees. The Japanese controlled nearly the entire peninsula. Hideyoshi's plan seemed unstoppable. The king was in exile, the armies broken, the country occupied. It seemed Korea's story would end in tragedy. But in the southern waters, one man refused to accept defeat, a man who would change the course of history. Hope was about to return. His name was Yi Sun-sin, a naval commander in Jeolla province, untouched by the Japanese. Yi was a brilliant strategist and incorruptible leader. While others were complacent, he prepared. He drilled his sailors, enforced discipline, and oversaw the construction of a secret weapon, the turtle ship. The Jeobuxion was a marvel, iron-plated, spiked, and armed with cannons on all sides. Its dragon's head spewed smoke, confusing enemies. It was built for shock and awe. Yi understood the Japanese army's fatal weakness. It depended on supplies from the sea. If he could cut that lifeline, he could starve the invaders. His strategy: win the war at sea, not on land. With his fleet ready, Yi prepared for battle, not for glory, but out of duty. In his diary, he recorded the weight of responsibility he carried. As the Japanese Navy sailed confidently along the coast, they were heading toward a confrontation they could not anticipate. Admiral Yi Sun-sin was waiting. The fate of Korea would be decided on the waves. The first clash was imminent. The legend of Yi Sun-sin was about to begin. The tides were turning. In the summer of 1592, Admiral Yi struck at Okpo, catching the Japanese off guard and destroying their fleet. It was a stunning victory, just the beginning. Yi became a legend, striking with speed and precision, never losing a ship. At Sacheon, he unleashed the turtle ship, terrifying the Japanese. Victories followed at Dangpo, Danghangpo, and Yulpo. Yi mastered tactics, using geography, tides, and surprise. His aura of invincibility grew. The climax came at Hansen Island. Facing a larger fleet, Yi set a trap. He lured the Japanese into open water, then surrounded them in a crane wing formation. The result? A massacre. The Japanese fleet was annihilated. Hansen Island shattered Japan's naval dominance and secured the sea for Korea. The Japanese supply line was severed. Their armies were cut off. The tide of war had turned. Yi's victories gave Korea hope. The invincible invaders were now vulnerable. The sea belonged to Admiral Yi. The war was far from over. Just as hope returned, disaster struck from within. Jealous rivals had Yi arrested and imprisoned. In his absence, the navy was destroyed at Chilcheoyang. Only 13 ships survived. The king reinstated Yi, tasking him to stop the Japanese with just 13 ships against hundreds. Yi's reply, "Your Majesty, I still have 13 ships." At Myeongyang Strait, Yi lured the Japanese into treacherous currents and with brilliant tactics, turned the tide. His flagship fought alone, inspiring his captains to join. The Japanese fleet was devastated. Yi lost no ships. This victory and the arrival of Ming Chinese forces pushed the Japanese back. In 1598 at Noryang, Yi led a final assault as the Japanese retreated. In the heat of victory, a stray bullet struck him down. Yi's last words, "The battle is at its height. Do not announce my death." His men kept fighting, leading Korea to final victory. Yi Sun-sin died as he lived, in service to his people. His genius and sacrifice ensured Korea's survival. He remains Korea's greatest hero. His legacy endures to this day.